Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to create this simple toggle switch in HTML CSS. We'll talk about transition times and how to change it so it can last a little longer, the concept around it, and anything in between. So as you can see, this is currently checked, and if I uncheck it, it slides, it becomes grey, so inactive, and you can see that we've got a little round slider here. Let's get started. Okay, to get started, what I'm going to do is just call index.html. I'm going to type in some boilerplate. Let's just call this toggle. I'm going to create a label with a class of toggle. I'm not going to have a for, not important for this. And then I'm going to knock down, I have an input type checkbox. The name, let's call this toggle. ID, which will be, class, which will be a switch. And then this below here, this span is an element that we're going to slide. So in our case, we're just going to be sliding just a circle, but this could be anything. It could be an icon or whatnot. So let's just call this class slider. Save that, right click on index.html and open with live server over here. So now whenever we save something, it should automatically reload. Then what I'm going to do next is call in some CSS. Link :CSS or style.css. Okay, so that's going to call in a style sheet, style.css, and let's say style.css. And then I'm going to just center our items to get started. So height is 100 viewport heights, width 100 viewport widths, display flex, align items center, and what else? We need justified content. So if I save this now, what we get is our checkbox centered in the middle of our index.html, and I can click and unclick this. So I'm going to be writing a bunch of CSS now, and I'm going to just do away with the Finder window. What I want to do here is I want to target our toggle class, which was the main wrapper, so the label, and I'm just going to say UR position relative, and you are going to be displayed inline block. Then the width, all this pixels, and the height is 34 pixels. Save this. Let's just inspect. Make sure the styles have been applied, and they have. Fantastic. So now what we're going to do is I want to target the input. So toggle input, and as you know, based on our HTML here, we only have a toggle class, and then we only have one input. So this is the element that we're targeting. And so what I'm going to say is basically don't want you to appear. So opacity is 0, width is 0, and height is 0. So we've now got nothing on our page. That's exactly what we want. So now I'm going to declare our slider item, and I'm going to say .slider. And there's quite a few styles here, so I'm going to say position is absolute. Cursor is a pointer. Oh, God. It would help if I could type cursor, pointer. Thank you. Top is 0 pixels. Left 0. I'm having some real issues here. Left 0, right 0, bottom 0. Okay. Now what's the background of the actual slider? And we are going to say the background is a light grey, so let's use like ECC. And then when you click on this, how long do you want the transition to last? So I'm going to say transition is say 0.3 seconds. We can change this and adjust accordingly in a bit. This is where you obviously usually add like WebKit, so a WebKit transition, and make sure that that matches up, so 0.3 seconds. Okay, and then finally is the border radius. Border radius, and we want that to look slightly rounded, so let's say 10 pixels. So we've got some form of toggle background. Okay. So obviously, just to kind of go over this, when we go over it, we want a pointer for the whole element, and we've positioned this absolute and kind of mapped it to the edges, put a background on it, and we've said whenever we click on this, the elements that we want to move are going to move within 0.3 seconds. Okay, so next what we want to do is we want to target the before. So slider colon before, and then I'm going to do position absolute again. I'm going to say the content, because we need to use the content, is nothing. And what's the height? This is the slider. This is the element that we're moving. So what's the element here? What's the height of the element that you're moving? So I'm going to say height is 26 pixels and width is 26 pixels. Then where we position it, we're going to say left 4 pixels and bottom. Bottom 4 pixels. I'll show you what this looks like in just a second. Then we're going to say background is hashtag FFF. This is the color of the element. And if I just save this quickly, then what we're going to do is we're going to say, is that right? That's not right. Absolute. There we go. Just save this quickly. We've got a square image that simulates our icon. So first of all, I want to make sure that we've got a border radius, and I'm just going to say this is 50% because I want it to be a perfect circle. Oh, great. And then again, what's the transition when I click on something on the, when I click on this element, or when this element is moving? I want to say the transition is 0.3 seconds again, and let's just copy here, WebKit, I put transform, transition. Transition 0.3 seconds. Okay, fantastic. That's exactly what we want. So I want to target the actual transition from being checked and unchecked. So when I click on this, what do I want you to do? I want you to move between an active and inactive state. So what I'm going to say is input checked. I want to target the slider before. So I want to target this element. And I basically want to move it. So when you are clicked, what do you want to do? Well, I want to transform you from your current location, and I want to work on the x-axis. So I want to move you left and right. I want to move you 100%. So right now, if I click on this, now we get the transition, and if I unclick, we're obviously removing that transition. So we're going back to its original state. So no transition. Obviously, we're sat over here, left hand side, and the width and whatnot. And then we click it, and it's translated 100% of its distance across onto the other side. So I can terminate my line and just again make sure I cater to WebKit form, translate X 100%. Okay, so we've got a working toggle right now, and that may be enough for you. And you can take this away. You can obviously work with, changing like the I don't know, border. 1 pixel solid, 1 pixel solid and black, and then you can start changing elements to this. Obviously that looks not great, but the point is we've got a concept here that we can take forward and work with. I just want to show you something else that we can do. What we can do is we can change styles based on the active and inactive state as well. So I'm going to say checkbox again, checked. I want to target the slider, so when you are checked, the slider is going to look slightly different. So in this case, I'm going to use background and let's just say green. When you are clicked, the background is going to be green. Right. And that's it. So I suppose the only other thing that I've got to show you is the actual transition times. So if I change this from 0.3 seconds to say 1 second, what does that look like? And let's increase that a little bit and say 5 seconds. And you can see just by increasing that, we can dramatically change the effects of the length of time. I'm going to reverse that though. I think 0.3 seconds, anything between 0.3 and 0.5 seconds is a pretty good transition time for a toggle. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clears things up, and you can now take this away and use this in your projects. If you do have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. Until next time, take it easy.